Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the Medium in the Middle. This podcast is going to walk you through my journey into mediumship and how I came to realize that I could communicate with souls that have passed over. My adventure started just over a year ago when unusual situations started happening to me. It wasn't until I really started to pay attention to them that it all started to come together. I wrote down everything that I was experiencing this past year in a little black book, and this podcast is going to be a recap of all of those memories leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey. I will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday, and I recommend listening to the podcast in order, starting with episode 1, as my story will unfold more week by week. If you would like to stay connected with me, follow me on Instagram at Medium in the Middle. Hello friends! Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast, episode 24. I'm so happy you are here. I'm so happy you are back. I just got some incredible news. I opened up my podcasting host site and I had like 1,000 more downloads than when I last checked. And over 600 people have listened to this month. And as I'm recording this, it's February 9th. So that's just incredible. So thank you to anyone who has shared this podcast or told a friend or left a rating and a review. I really appreciate it. So I've been freaking out for the past hour. And I'm so happy. So thank you. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. My name is Stephanie. I am the Medium in the Middle. And if you are listening on iTunes, I would love a rating and a review. If you just scroll to the bottom, you can quickly leave 5 stars and leave me a little note. It really helps me out in the podcast world. Okay, so let's jump into today's episode. I'm going to be talking about my Reiki Master's course, and I'm also going to be talking about how you learn Reiki, how you go through the motions, what are the steps you need to take. I'm going to break it down for you. So for this episode, I literally went and got all of my notes and handouts from my Reiki Level 1 course, my Reiki Level 2 course, and my Master's course. So I'm going to be using a lot of the information directly from the courses and the handouts in today's episode. So in a previous episode, I've talked about what Reiki is, and I've gone through the lineage of how it came to be what it is today and how it was taught from one practitioner to another. So if you are interested in the whole breakdown of Reiki and what it is, just go back to episode 17, Reiki 101. It'll probably answer all of your questions. This episode specifically is going to be about my Master Teacher's course and the process of becoming a Reiki practitioner, to the point where you can work on other people, to the point where you are a Master Teacher and can then teach others. So I have had 2 Master Teachers in my Reiki career. One of those teachers is named Lois, and I've mentioned her on this podcast a few times. And why Lois is so special to me is because she is very traditional, and she has been doing Reiki for over 20 years. So she is actually 5 teachers away from Madame Takata's teachings. Madame Takata was one of the first people to teach Reiki once they figured out that they could tell and share other people. She was one of the pioneers to do this. So Lois is 5 teachers from her, which makes me the 6th teacher away from her in the lineage, which is very cool. And it's something that I hold really special and near and dear to my heart, because when you're that close to the source, I just really feel like I was getting the original true information. And when I took all my courses with Lois, she didn't have any fancy PowerPoints. She didn't have any special books she gave us. It was literally these photocopied handouts that she's probably had for 20 years. It was the original teachings. She taught us right the way she was taught. And I just really resonated with the history of those original teachings. So first, I'm going to talk about the 3 different degrees of Reiki, and then I'm going to talk about my experience in each of them. So in Reiki Level 1, you receive 4 attunements from your Reiki Master. And the purpose of Reiki Level 1 is primarily for self-healing. So after Reiki level 1, you go through a 21-day period where you adjust to the energy. So they say that your 7 chakras reset 3 times, 1 per day, and for 21 days your body is adjusting. So the student can feel tingling, they can have really vivid dreams, and they can go through this detoxification process. So when you are taught this level, you are taught all of the hand positions, how to do a treatment on yourself, how to treat all 7 chakras, and you are told that you can practice on pets or plants. They also recommend that you keep a journal to help understand the changes that you are experiencing during this time, because you'll definitely start to become more self-aware of things happening around you, energy. It's just a really good idea to start a journal. So after your Reiki level 1, if you would like to continue, you would do your Reiki level 2 course. It is recommended that you wait between 3 to 6 months between your level 1 and your level 2, because you need time to practice, you need time to get used to using Reiki on yourself, and you at minimum need that 21 days for your chakras to reset. So in your Reiki level 2, there are 3 more attunements. So with each attunement in each Reiki course, it increases the amount of healing energy and focuses on emotional, mental, and karmic healing of the student. This level generally takes 6 months to 1 year to adjust to. During your Reiki level 2, you are introduced to the Reiki symbols at this time. So you are given 3 of the Reiki symbols, and you are now permitted to use the symbols, and you are also permitted to work on others. So with the Reiki level 2, you are able to work on yourself, and you're also able to give treatments to others, whereas in Reiki level 1, you're only meant to be working on yourself. So after you do your Reiki level 2 course, you are practicing on others, you are practicing on yourself, you can be taking clients, you're feeling really comfortable with the Reiki energy, and you're feeling called to learn more and move on. After that 6 months to 1 or 2 years, you are able to do your Reiki 3 course or your Reiki Master Teacher course. So in this course, there are 2 more attunements. And the energy is pure joy. It's oneness and connection with the universal life force energy, or the source, is all brought to the student's awareness. The ability to channel healing energy is increased even further in your level 3. You are also given 2 more Reiki symbols, and the method of passing on the attunement is also shared. So you are taught how to do the attunements. After this course, the student is now prepared to teach and pass on the attunements of Reiki to others. So although you are taught how to teach others and how to do the attunements, it is still not recommended that you go out and teach right away. It is recommended that you further your own learning for even more years before you create how you're going to teach others and before you're ready to teach others. But you are taught how to do the attunements, which technically means you can give Reiki to other people. So I've said this before, but I'll say it again. When I went to my Reiki level 1, I had no idea what Reiki was. I knew the word Reiki. I think I knew that it was energy healing, but who knows what that even meant. And I was just interested, and I was called to it. And they say that Reiki calls to you if you're meant to be in this line of work. And I can honestly say that I was drawn to it for what seemed like no reason at the time. I just needed to learn more about whatever Reiki was. So if you've been listening to the podcast from the beginning, you know that I had a big move where I moved from Ontario to Alberta, Canada. And when I was in Ontario, that's where my Reiki master Lois was. So I did my level 1, and the studio that was hosting this training had the level 2 scheduled for less than 21 days later. And Lois really didn't like this, and she tried to tell the owner that they had to be spaced out. But she said she's a businesswoman and she wants them close together so that people who do the level 1 will then take the level 2. So it ended up that on the weekend of our level 2, which was I think 19 days later, there was a massive ice storm. Literally the whole town shut down, all the neighboring towns shut down, the roads were shut down. Everything was covered in ice. All the trees were covered in ice, so they were breaking and falling. So our course got canceled and delayed for a few more weeks. So I remember how joyous Lois was because she said this is the way it was supposed to be. She was so happy the ice storm happened because we needed to wait those 21 days in between course 1 and course 2. So I went to my Reiki level 1 just completely open-minded, not knowing anything about Reiki, and I did the course, learned what they told me, and then I went home and I just started practicing. And they told us not to practice on other people yet, but I just started asking anyone and everyone if I could practice on them. So I would hold their pinky, I would touch their forehead, I would touch their shoulders, and just practice as much as I could. So by the time I did my level 2, I had a lot of experiences that had happened to me that I couldn't really explain. And a lot of them have been told on this podcast, those stories. So I brought them all to my level 2 being like, what the hell is going on? Is this Reiki? What is happening to me? And Lois was kind of like, whoa, like that is really intense. That's kind of more than I know. And by this time was when names were starting and when I would just know things about people and when I would know where the pain was immediately in your body. So during that course, Lois suggested to me that I start writing things down. And that is where the little black book was born, the little black book that I mentioned in the intro of the podcast. So in the way that I was taught, you are meant to do your level 1, wait a few months, 3 to 6 months, do your level 2, and then wait 1 to 2 years before you do your Master Teacher's course. And Lois told me that she has to approve me taking my master's. So she has to see that I'm working on it. We have to do Reiki shares together and just be in constant communication so that she knows that I'm ready to do the next level. So this was always my intention, was to wait before I was going to do my master's, and I would do my master's with Lois. But a few months later, after I did my level 2 course, I was planning to move to Banff. And I became really worried because I knew that I wouldn't have time to do my Reiki Master's course with Lois, and I knew that I probably wouldn't be back in the next year to where she lived in order to do the course with her. So I started to become really, really anxious that I wasn't going to be able to do my Reiki Master's course with my original master, Lois. So looking back on it, it really is incredible about how things just happen and how the universe puts things in your path so that you can experience them. So this was the same time that I was discovering my mediumship abilities and things were happening to me, and I was reaching out to friends and talking to people. And I had a friend in Vancouver who told me that she had a friend in Banff that was very similar to me and that I should reach out to her and we could have coffee and kind of meet up. She said, I think you'd really like this friend. I'm going to connect you to. So I said, okay, not really thinking anything of it. I'm like, I'm not going to reach out to a stranger. That's kind of weird to be like, hey, do you want coffee? I heard we're both mediums. At the time, everything was still new for me, and it was just something I wasn't really planning to do, but I appreciated her telling me about this friend. So fast forward a few weeks later, we are now driving out west. So we're driving from Ontario to Banff, Alberta. So the drive was about 36 hours, and it was the final day of the drive. And I was just thinking about this girl that my friend had recommended I contact. And I said, what do I got to lose? I might as well just send her an email and ask her if she wants to go for coffee. I have nothing to lose. And if she recommended it, I trust this friend, so I should go. So I sent this lady an email and I said, hey, so-and-so gave me your contact information, said that we might want to connect, that we would have a few things in common. And then I mentioned Reiki and I mentioned mediumship and just kind of sent a little nice email. And when she responded to me, she said, hey, yeah, definitely, I'd love to go for coffee. You might actually be interested. I'm teaching a course. I'm doing the Reiki Master's course. And because I am also a channeler and you are as well, I think you would take a lot away from this course. So then I got really excited because I thought, oh my gosh, someone like me. And I'm going to be able to learn Reiki and connect, and she's going to be able to answer all my questions about mediumship. So I wrote her back and I said, okay, thank you for letting me know. And I really wanted to touch base with Lois to see what she thought about me, number 1, doing my master's with someone else, and number 2, if she thought that I was ready to do my master's, because this was only months later. So I emailed Lois and I told her about it and I asked her thoughts and feedback. And Lois said that she absolutely thinks I'm ready. She thinks that I have a very powerful gift and she wants me to continue my learning so that I'm able to share this gift with the world. Lois is the sweetest little thing ever. So with Lois's blessing, I felt really comfortable to go and do my master's course. So I met this friend and she was super cool, but it turns out that she is a channeler and I do mediumship, so they are different. She talks to your higher self, whereas I talk to loved ones who have passed over, or souls that have passed over. So we did have a really great connections and we're still friends to this day, but we found out we don't do the same thing. So I took her Reiki course and it was very interesting, but it wasn't in the teachings the way that Lois taught me. So Lois taught me in the very old school, strict way of teaching, whereas this one was more new school. There was just some changes and I did learn a lot in the course. And what I really wanted was the Reiki Master symbol. So I was really impatient for this symbol and I just wanted to do the course to get the symbol. So in your Reiki Master's course, they tell you that you get the final symbol and it makes everything faster. So instead of doing all of the other symbols that you learn in your level 2 with the master symbol, you can do things way faster. And I'm an impatient person and I just wanted this symbol to make things faster. So it turns out after I did this course, I never used the symbol because I never felt ready to do it. And I wasn't ready to do my master's course, so I never used the symbol. I remember once I tried to do it and it just felt so foreign and just not right. I just knew I wasn't ready to use the symbol, but I knew that I just wanted to know what it was. Because in the traditional teachings, you're not able to know the symbols until you do the courses. Lois says now there's the internet, so you can find anything anywhere. But originally, no one knew them until you did the course. And that's why everybody taught each other, was because you had to learn them in this order when you were ready and when a master teacher deemed you as ready. So now I'm in Banff. I did my master's. I have the master symbol, but I feel not secure in myself to call myself a Reiki master. I just didn't feel right, and I knew I did it too early, and I knew I rushed, and I knew that I needed to do my master's with Lois. I just knew how important it was. So about a year after I did my master's course with this friend, my 30th birthday was coming up, and around that time would have been about a year after my Reiki Level 2 course. So I started to feel that I needed to go and plan a trip back to Ontario specifically to do my Reiki Master's course with Lois. And I was just thinking to myself, if I don't plan this and do it, I'm never going to be in the small town that she lives in outside of Toronto, just happen to have time when she's available and when I'm available. I just actually need to plan this if I want it to happen. And I had this strong urge and drive inside of me that I had to go do my Reiki Master's course with Lois. This was so important. And it was really important to me that I learned from her because she was 5 degrees away from Takata and I wanted to be that 6th generation teacher. So after emails back and forth, Lois and I set up a time where I can come and she can teach me because the Reiki Master's course is a one-on-one course and it takes a few days and she has many other commitments. And I wanted to make sure that I could come back to Ontario and be able to see her. So we arranged to make it happen. So I landed, and the first thing that I did on my trip was my 2-day master course. So on the first day, I was so excited to go see Lois. We did the course in her house. It was everything I wanted it to be and more. So she did my attunements and she taught me, and just the learning and the knowledge that she has from doing this work for 20 years is incredible. And she just has so much to tell me, and I could talk to her for hours. It was amazing. So day 1 of the course was all book work, the attunements, question and answer. We had a binder of information I had to go through. And then day 2 was the practicum. So we were actually arranging to go to her friend's house, and her friend was going to be our guinea pig so that I could practice on her and work on different things, and she could give feedback and Lois could observe and also give me feedback. So this woman that was her friend was very kind and she welcomed us into her home, and we started by doing a session on her. So I knew nothing about this woman. I did ask her if I could work on her as if I would work on any other client, and that I was also a medium, so if I had any messages, if she would like them. And she was totally open for it, and she said yes, and she kind of gave me a list of things that were wrong with her, I guess you could say. She had a lot of medical issues and she had a lot of pain in her body. And I said, okay, I'll do the best I can. Like, the less I know, the better. And then we'll talk about it after. So first we did a distance healing practice where I had her sit on the couch and I sat on the other side of the room, and we set it up where I couldn't see her. And Lois talked me through how to do distance because I have been getting a lot of requests to do distance, but it's not something that I feel comfortable with. So I wanted to get better at it. And I really believe that I shouldn't offer a service unless I feel 1,000% comfortable with it. So I told Lois this was something I wanted to work on. So we had her friend sit on the couch and I sat across the room facing away from her. And Lois said, tune into her body. Imagine that your body is becoming her body. So visually I did a scan down where I was tuning into her body, and from the top down I became her. And she said, now tell me what you feel. So I started to describe everything that I was feeling in my body, which I was pretending was her body. And then at the end, we asked her for feedback, and she kind of said, yeah, like that was all spot on. You got the pain on my right side. You got the pain on my left knee. She's like, that was all really good. She's like, what I wanted you to pick up on was the pain on my right side. She's like, because that was the strongest. She said, I'm actually very surprised that you picked up the pain in my left knee as well. And I said, oh, okay, like great. I really wasn't expecting it to work, but she was really impressed with what I was able to pick up from being across the room. So then we did a session together, and it was a very powerful session, I would say, especially because she did have so much pain and so many things that she was holding on to. A really big theme that came up in her session was that she was acting as if she was the disease. And I kept saying, you are not the disease. You are not your side effects. You are still a human being, and you need to stop identifying yourself as being just the sick person or just the person with this disease or just the person with that. And actually her late mother came through and gave her some really tough love and said, stop acting this way. You are strong. You still have a life to live. You need to stop living in this world where you tell yourself that you're sick and you can't do this, because I know that you can do this, and I want you to believe that you can still live your life without all these limitations. So at the end of the session, she gave me feedback about where the pain was and wasn't anymore, and she said that she hasn't felt that good in weeks, and she was just really surprised. She's like, I wasn't expecting that kind of treatment, to be honest. And as a gift, she had a little bag of fresh lavender for me, and she said, this is from my garden. And I was like, wow, thank you so much. I wasn't expecting any gifts. Like, that was really nice of you to think of that. But then after the treatment, she said, that treatment was so incredible, I have to give you another gift. She said, a friend of mine is Colette Barron-Reed, who makes tarot card decks or oracle card decks. And she said, I have a deck of cards I want to give to you. So she is the one who actually gave me the Enchanted Map deck. And it's a deck that I sometimes pull from when I'm on Instagram just for cards of the day. So I thought that was really special that she wanted to go above and beyond and give me something when she absolutely had no obligation to. And the gift that she gave me is something so thoughtful, and I actually use it almost daily now. And it reminds me of my master teachings, it reminds me of her, and it reminds me of Lois. So as the day went on, we just kept doing different things like that. And at the end of the day, Lois asked me if she could have a treatment from me. She said, I would really love a full treatment from you. I just am really being called to ask you for this. And I said, Lois, absolutely. I'll do anything for you. Like, I'll do a treatment for you, no problem. So I started doing a treatment on Lois, and Lois and I have done Reiki share before, so I'm used to her energy. And as soon as I put my hands on her, I started to get the feeling that she had lost a little girl. And I know Lois has 2 children, and we are quite close, so I felt that if she had lost a child, I would know about it. So I thought, don't ask her if she lost a child. This is not how we're going to be starting the session. I'm just not going there. So I didn't say anything. I was on her crown chakra. And then I got to her third eye, and this little girl was bothering me. And I'm thinking, no, I can't say anything. So then I get down to her heart, and Lois was giving me feedback as I'm doing the treatment because she is still a teacher, and she wanted to kind of let me know what she was feeling and let me know when she felt the release, and then I would let her know when I felt the release in different spots. So by the time I got down to her heart, she said to me, "Wow, I'm really feeling my daughter that I lost when I was younger." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, I haven't felt her soul in a really long time, but I'm really feeling her strongly." And I said, "Lois, I've been feeling her since I started. I didn't know that you lost a child, and I didn't want to bring it up because what if you didn't lose a child? Like, I didn't know that." And she said, "Oh yeah, I just haven't thought about her in a while." So I said, okay, and I just continued on with the session, and we finished up. It was a really powerful session. I probably worked on her for about an hour and a half. Very moving, very powerful. At one point, we were both in tears, and it was just incredible. So at the end of the session, I said to her, "Lois, can you tell me about your daughter? I didn't know that you lost a daughter." And she said, "Yeah, it was after her first child, so she had a girl first." And she said, "I was pregnant, and she went to the doctor because something was wrong." So she said she was in the room with her daughter, waiting for the doctor to come. And her daughter, who was 4 years old at the time, opened the closet door and yelled, "Goodbye, baby, goodbye," and then closed the closet door. And just at that time, Lois felt something go very wrong in her stomach. The nurse walked in, checked her belly, and essentially told her that she had just lost her baby. And she said, "I didn't realize how intuitive my daughter was, but she opened the closet door, said bye to her baby sister, and then closed the closet door. And then in that moment was when the nurse came in and said, something's gone wrong and you've lost the baby." And Lois explained to me that at the time, she didn't feel very connected to the child because she knew that it wasn't her time to have a baby. She said, "Everything going on in my life, it just wasn't the right situation to bring another baby into." And she was kind of relieved because she was happy that this soul wouldn't have to go through kind of the life they would have had if it would have been born. And while we were talking about this situation, we were kind of also talking about how Lois and I have this connection that we can't really explain. We just felt very connected from the beginning. We've always kept in touch over the years. And it is this very close connection that I had almost immediately with a stranger. So Lois said to me when we were talking about this at lunch, she said, "Actually, during your treatment that you were giving to me," she said, "I realized something really powerful." She's like, "I named my daughter Shannon, and I knew that it wasn't my time to have that baby and to teach that soul and to mother that soul." She's like, "But as you were working on me, I really think that you are Shannon's soul." Oh my gosh, I'm going to get emotional just retelling the story. So she said, "I knew that I wasn't meant to mother that soul at that time." She's like, "But when I met you, you've been so special." She said, "I've never had a Reiki student that I've connected with like you. And while you were doing that Reiki session and Shannon's soul was there, I just knew that you are Shannon, you are Shannon." And it's crazy because when I was doing the session for her, I don't know why I started to think I am Shannon, I am Shannon. But it was like when I came out of the session, I was like, oh my God, I am Shannon. So it was this crazy experience for Lois and I, where she was telling me how she knew she wasn't meant to mother that soul at that time, but she was meant to mother me in a way in my Reiki journey. She said, "This is so much more powerful." And she said, "At this time in my life, mentoring you and teaching you what I know is what I'm meant to do. I know that this was the learnings and the teachings that I could never give to Shannon at that time, but now I'm able to share it with you." So what I also found out during that conversation is that I am only the 6th master teacher that Lois has ever attuned. So in her 20 years, she has only deemed 5 other people worthy of being given the master teacher attunement by her. So that was huge for me. For some reason, I thought over her 20 years, she probably had tons of masters under her. She's been teaching this for so long. And she said, no, she said, "I do many, many level 1s and level 2s, but I have never felt that anyone is ready to do their master." She said, "I've only done 5. And she said, to be honest, one of them is dead. So only 4 are alive." And it was in that moment that I knew why I needed to do my master's with Lois. It was in that moment that I knew why I had such a strong feeling and calling that I had to come back to Ontario, spend a ton of money, use almost all of my vacation days to go to this small town to see her, to do my master's course, which I have already spent money doing once. It all came together. The Master Teacher's course wasn't for me. It was for Lois. It was for what she needed. And it was what she needed to realize was that she is still a teacher and a mother to so many people on this earth. And not only me passing on the knowledge and how good that makes her feel, but also how good I feel when I was able to learn from her for 2 days and spend time with her for 2 days. And we just had this incredible, amazing experience where we just bonded in an unexplainable way. But once we kind of realized the Shannon story, it all clicked into place where I was like, oh my God, I get it now. I get why I needed to come back. I get why I met you. I get why I needed to do my master's with you. It just all clicked into place. And it's incredible how the universe will bring you the people you need in your life and how you will make the connections you need to make to learn different things. And you never know what the lesson is going to be. I just thought I needed to learn something from Lois, but I actually think as much as I had to learn from her, she also had to learn from me. Still to this day, clearly, this story makes me cry. So as I mentioned, this experience was at the beginning of my Ontario trip. So after this, I went and visited Tara's family, my dad's family, my mom's family. We had Thanksgiving. We had my 30th birthday. It was a jam-packed, amazing trip. Which I have a ton of episodes for you about what happened on that trip. And it started off with my master's course, and people were kind of asking me about how my course was, and it was almost indescribable because I couldn't just go and tell the average person about how I am Shannon and this all came up, but it was literally the most moving thing where I just thought, I'm a changed person now. I can never not be who I am now. And the fact that I found Reiki and that I've been able to learn from different people, but the fact that I went back to Lois in Ontario and made the trip was indescribable. So I couldn't explain this to, my family when they're just asking around the dinner table, because it's really hard to land the magnitude of that conversation, of that Reiki session, of that channeling session when the soul of the passed away daughter came through. And everything just clicked about how we knew we would meet again in this lifetime and about how this was just meant to be and these teachings were meant to pass on through me and we were meant to be together in this life, but just not at that time. So although I don't feel like I am fully Shannon's soul, I do feel like a piece of her is in me and that it was my time to learn from Lois now and maybe not before. But I'm happy that she still got to experience like a second daughter in me in a connection and in a way that she can't connect with her current daughter. So yeah, it was so special. So I wanted to share that experience with you guys, my listeners, because I really wanted to share how Reiki has affected my life and how this journey over the past 2 years has been a ride. And it's just when you are getting the calling, you have to listen. And you have to follow your heart and just follow what your gut is telling you. And it's scary sometimes, but every time I've listened to my gut, my intuition, my inner knowing, whatever you want to call it, it's never ever done me wrong. And there's always been a lesson I've needed to learn or something I've had to do. And it's always been incredible. So now I fearlessly follow my intuition and my gut, sometimes blindly. I don't even know why, but it's something I have to do, and it's now my work. So I hope you enjoyed listening about my Reiki journey through level 1, level 2, and 2 Master Teachers courses. I am now actually going to be teaching my first Reiki course alongside another amazing Master Teacher at the end of this month. And it's incredible because when I first did my master's with Lois, I was telling her how I'm not ready to teach and I don't think I'm going to teach for years. And I just wanted to do my master's with her, but my intent isn't to teach. And Lois was telling me over and over again, Stephanie, you need to start teaching. You need to teach others. You need to be out there being that light. She's like, I actually suggest you start teaching sooner rather than later. And I remember just being like, no, I'm not ready. But now when this course has come up and I've been given the opportunity to teach, I am just screaming, yes, I'm ready to teach. Yes, the group of people that are going to be attending this are the group of people I need to teach. And just the pull was so strong. I literally just asked the person who was hosting it if I could attend and teach with her, because I said, I need to be there. I know I need to be there. Now is the time. And we're just going full steam ahead. And it's incredible because this is all happening within a week of me leaving my full-time job, so that I'm able to go and do more energy work and do more mediumship clients and work on the podcast. And just now I'm going to be teaching Reiki, which is incredible. So the universe has your back. If you needed to hear that today, the universe has your back. Even if you don't see it right now or tomorrow, you'll see it in a week or a month or a year, but just trust it. Trust the process. It's all happening for you. Okay? All right, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you for listening to my journey. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you know a little bit more about Reiki. If you are interested in taking a Reiki course, if this is jumping out at you, if your eyes are wide and your heart wants to know more, find someone in your town. Take a Reiki level 1 course. They're usually not too long and they're not too expensive. And to be honest, it's worth it for the attunement. It's worth it for your own self-healing. And I would love as many people as possible to be attuned, because those are just more eyes that are being opened. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to message me on Instagram. I love talking about Reiki. I might know someone in your town that I can recommend. If you're in the Banff area, hit me up. Yes, so that is all. Thank you again for listening. If you want to follow me on Instagram at Medium in the Middle. If you are listening on iTunes, please leave me a rating and a review. Until next Tuesday, friends, have a great week.